Well, hey guys, Steven here with Four Oaks Crafts. In this video, I'm combining two of my favorite woodworking hobbies, wood turning and wood carving. And I'm going to be showing you how to carve a wood spirit on one of my wood turnings. So join with me and let's get started. Okay, in these next few scenes, you're just seeing me prepare the pen blank to be put on the lathe. So this is a 7/8 by 7/8 piece of maple for the blank. And I'm first of all going to drill the hole for the pen tube. And once I've got that done, I'm going to glue the pen tube in. And then I'm going to use the barrel trimmer to square up each ends, and then it'll be ready to put on the lathe. Okay, here you can see me turning the pen blank on the lathe, and I've got my bushings in place for this particular pen kit that I'm using. I'm using the Atlas pen kit. And so what I'm going to do is put it on the lathe, and I'm going to turn it down to the bushings on each end. That way, when I press the pen kit parts together, everything will look correct on the front and the back end. I'm not going to make the whole blank, completely round. I will get most of it round, but since I've got the carving that I'm trying to contend with, I want to leave a lot of wood material kind of in the middle there to do the carving on. But you can see that I am trimming the front end of the pen down and the back end of the pen down all the way to the bushing. So with this video, I'm not going to spend a lot of time about how to turn a pen on a lathe. I do have several videos where I go into more detail about how to do the pen turning process, but for this video, I guess the main focus is going to be on the carving. Okay, now that I got the pen blank somewhat rounded and off the lathe, the first thing I'm going to do is reestablish and draw a center line down the middle of the blank. Next, I'm going to draw halfway across the blank. That's going to be the bottom of the nose, and then about a finger up is where the brow line is going to be. And I'm going to give the brow line a slight angle. So the first thing I'll do is I'll make try to make a deep stop cut right there where that middle line is. That's going to be, again, the bottom of the nose, and I'll cut up to that stop cut. Again, I want to try to get that nose established, the depth right there where that stop cut. Now this is maple that I'm carving, so it is a little bit of a challenge. Normally I carve with basswood. And you could use basswood for this, but since it was going to be a pen for writing, I wanted a little bit more durable piece of wood. Now you can see me continuing to shape up to the nose. And now I'm going to move up to that mark where the brow line is. I'm going to try to push down and make a deep stop cut here. And then on the other side here, you notice that I'm moving the carving around. It's a little bit challenging being a small piece it is, but I'm moving it around and so that I can still carve it safely with the knife. Now I'm going to just make some cuts up to that stop cut. And what we're going to do here is we're just sort of starting to form the eyes. And really it's an illusion of eyes. I'm not really carving in any eyes on this. But don't be afraid to go deep here. because really the deeper you carve into it, it does give it more of the illusion of having the eyes there. Okay, now that I've got the eyes where I want them, I'm going to go ahead and mark uh, where I want the nose to be. And don't be afraid to start out with the nose being a little bit big. It's always easier to cut the nose down because you can't add back to the nose. And you see me right here using the carving knife, and I'm kind of going straight down on that line that I just made with the stop cut. And that's going to be, both of these cuts are going to be the side of the nose. And you want to get those fairly deep. And then next I'm going to angle the knife over, then come in and just sort of do like a V cut with that stop cut that I just did. And that's going to leave a little bit of an area to, one, it's going to form the side of the nose, but it's also going to sort of define the cheek area as well. And here in a minute, I'll define that cheek area a little bit more. I'll also be making some triangle cuts in there to give that shape around the cheek and the nose a little bit more definition. Okay, now you can see I'm going ahead and sketching in a mustache for the wood spirit. And I'm drawing it, it probably comes down about, a finger or two fingers down, or finger and a half. Try to get it symmetrical if you can. Mine ended up a little bit lopsided, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And don't really have room on this to, develop a beard per se, but we're just kind of, what we're going to do is define the mustache, and it's going to sort of, I guess you would say, sit on top of the beard. So now I'm going to take my knife, and starting where that pencil mark is, I'm going to start a stop cut, and I'm going to bring that stop cut all the way around to the tip of the mustache. Then I'm going to come in to that V part of the mustache and make some stop cuts there. And then we'll start cutting in up to those stop cuts, and this will kind of bring the, I guess, the relief of the mustache out as we come back and refine it. Again, using the knife here is sort of to make a V cut, if you will, around that mustache to bring it out. Now, I'm also, you're going to probably see me using my V tool. And you could use a V tool to do this as well. And I'll use the V tool sometimes to come back and clean up V cuts that I make with the knife. It's not 100% necessary, but sometimes the V tool is a little bit easier as far as making these cuts, or coming back after you've done it with a knife and cleaning them up. Alright, here you can see me using my V tool to come in along some of those V cuts that I made with a knife, and just coming in there and just cleaning it up a little bit. Now, I also can use this V tool after a little while, and I'll use it to create some hair, in the beard. Okay, right here you're going to see me starting to refine the nose a little bit, and I'm just trying to bring the top of that nose down so the nose slopes back underneath the brow. Then I'm going to come back and take the start taking the corners off of the nose so that it's not quite rectangle, but more of a regular nose shape. I like to use a shoe brush every now and then to kind of get out the little fuzzies and pieces of wood that like still kind of cling in there. Just an easy way to brush it out. And again, here I'm just going back and continuing to refine the edges of the mustache. Okay, here you see me doing the classic triangle cuts, and these are right in the corner of the nose. You just go in two different directions of the triangle, deep cuts, and come third side of the triangle and just chip it out. And what that does is it gives the face a little bit more depth around the corners of the nose, and it also helps to bring out the features of the cheek of the wood spirit. Okay, next I'm going to take the tip of my knife and just kind of go around the edges, the square edges of the nose, and just sort of, round them off, because you want the nose to, be kind of rounded. You don't want it to have perfect edges on it. Just keep working around it, just being real careful not to make any big chunks come out. Okay, next you're going to see me putting in an eyebrow, or defining the eyebrow. So I'm going in with a stop cut, parallel with the brow line, and then I'm cutting down to that stop cut. And what I'm going to do is basically go parallel with the brow line like that all the way around, and then cut down. And in just a minute you're going to see me just sort of, from that point on, I'm going to kind of create a little bit of a forehead that slopes back into the wood. So between the top of that brow and the end of the pen, I'm going to sort of create like a little bit of a shallow valley, but it's going to give the effect of making the look like the head of the wood spirit sort of slopes back into the wood. Okay, jumping ahead a little bit, you can see that I refined that forehead a little bit more. Now I'm coming in here with the tip of my knife and very carefully trimming up the brow area and trying to get rid of those real sharp edges. So you just got to be real careful, make some real careful cuts here as you continue to refine, take off any protruding edges that are still there, try to round things over, make it look more natural, like a face. Alright, here you see me using the V tool, as I mentioned earlier, just coming back in there and creating some really small V cuts, really shallow ridges that portray a little bit of hair in the mustache area, and then also at the top of the the crown of the head. I'm going up a little bit, kind of with a classic wood spirit kind of look. And then I'll also do that below the beard as well, toward the other end of the pen. Okay, now I'm pretty much done with the carving, and normally these type of carvings you don't really come back and do much sanding. I did a little bit of touch-up sanding with some sandpaper, then also I used this little brush attachment that goes with my Dremel, and just went over it pretty good just to get in some of those nooks and crannies and get any kind of pieces of wood that are still hanging there, try to get those out, clear those out. Okay, for some reason I lost some of the footage here. I used a little bit of medium dark Danish oil to darken this maple a little bit, since the maple tends to be on the light side. But then after I did that and I let that dry and cure, I brought the pen carving back over to the lathe, put it back on the lathe, and now I'm going to use my Pens Plus friction polish, and I'm going to coat it really well, turn the lathe on, and then pretty much just polish the ends of the pen really well. And then once I get that done, I'm going to try to be at 2 or 3 coats. But once I get the parts done with the lathe spinning, and you got to be real careful here. You don't want to bear down in the middle there, because you don't want to break something off, like the nose. It sticks out a little bit there. So you got to be real gentle, and mainly you're trying to get the friction polish on the ends of the pen here and polish that up. And then once you've gotten that, then what I do is I'll take it off, and a little bit of that friction polish that's in the middle there, I've got a little buffing wheel attachment that goes on my Dremel, and so I'll use that attachment and just run that over the top of the carving really well to create a little bit of friction and heat, so that friction polish will cure. Okay, and finally we get to the pen assembly part, and you see me here using my pen press to go ahead and assemble the pen. And you just want to be really careful here that you follow the directions, instructions that come with the pen. Make sure you're pressing in the correct parts from the right end of the pen, and just push everything in, carefully, and not too much pressure, because you don't want to crack the wood or mess up any of the pen components. Okay, and here are the finished pens. The pen on the right, of course, is the one we just made, and it's made out of maple. The pen on the left is made of mango fig, and I used a pen kit called Tenacious. I chose that one because it had a pretty long pen barrel. Gave me a lot more room to carve on. One thing I do recommend you do before you jump into this is practice on some scrap wood. It doesn't take long to really get the hang of making a wood spirit carving, and once you've gotten good at it, well, you can add a wood spirit to so many things. You can add it to a spoon, you can add it to a hiking stick. I even carved one on the side of a deer antler. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the video here on the right. Hey, and I appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next video.